Hello and welcome back to our modules. So in this unit, we will continue to looking at how to prepare a speech. So for warming up, I have some questions for you and you can answer yes or no to these questions, okay? So the first one, I have to be an expert in a topic to make a speech about it. The second, I should use the information from my own experience. Number three, I should trust the information from online newspaper and magazines. And last, I should use a variety of ways to support my points. So in this lesson, you will be able to, the first one, identify sources of research materials. Second, use criteria to evaluate the information sources. And number three, identify explanations, examples, evidence and experts' voice to support the point. So we have two sections for this unit. The first one is gathering material, and the second one, supporting your ideas with 4E. Gathering materials for a speech is like the gathering information for any project. There are many resources available if you take advantage of them. You can interview people with specialized knowledge. Sometimes you can use yourself as a resource whenever you have a personal experience or above average knowledge about the subject. So let's turn first to the research of your own experience. After having the topic, we need more information to build a speech about it. That's why we need to gather materials and do some research. Where can we get the information? So here I will introduce 4 ways that you can get information for your speech. So the first and foremost, the convenient source of information is yourself, so your own knowledge and your experience. We often speak best about the subjects we are familiar with. When you choose a topic from your own experience, you may be tempted to include a lot of facts and figures trying to prove that you are being objective. Such information is necessary, but putting in your personal touch can really bring your speech to life. Try reading the following 2 examples. Which one is more attractive way to open your speech? Vậy thì nguồn thông tin đầu tiên và thuận tiện nhất đó chính là chính bạn, đúng không ạ? Những cái kiến thức và kinh nghiệm của chính bạn. Chúng ta thường có một cái bài nói tốt nhất về những cái chủ đề mà mình quen thuộc. Và khi mà các bạn chọn chủ đề từ những cái kinh nghiệm của riêng mình thì bạn có thể cố gắng đưa vào thật là nhiều các cái sự kiện và số liệu. Tuy nhiên, những cái thông tin vậy rất là cần thiết, tuy nhiên thì các bạn có thể là đưa ra những cái kinh nghiệm của bản thân, đúng không ạ? Bắt đầu bằng những cái câu chuyện của bản thân để cho lại cái bài nói của mình nó trở nên thú vị hơn. Vậy thì chúng ta sẽ xem 2 cái ví dụ sau. The first way to open your speech is, I am a best student. I often spend all night studying only a day before the exam. I always rush to finish term paper because I wait too long to start writing it. I couldn't seem to control my time, not until I followed the strategies. If you are like me, a victim of poor time management, these strategies can help you to use your time more effectively and keep control of your life. So this is the first way to introduce your speech. And the second way, today I would like to present you proven strategies you can follow to use your time more effectively and to keep control of your life. So which one do you think is more effective and more attractive to you? And sometimes a speech can be built completely from your personal experience. You can click on the link and watch the videos.
have spent my entire life either at the schoolhouse, on the way to the schoolhouse, or talking about what happens in the schoolhouse. Both my parents were educators. My maternal grandparents were educators. And for the past 40 years, I've done the same thing. And so needless to say, over those years, I've had a chance to look at education reform from a lot of perspectives. Some of those reforms have been good, some of them have been not so good. And we know why kids drop out. We know why kids don't learn. It's either poverty, low attendance, negative peer influences. We know why. But one of the things that we never discuss, or we rarely discuss, is the value and importance of human connection. Relationships. James Comer says that no significant learning can occur without a significant relationship. George Washington Carver says all learning is understanding relationships. Everyone in this room has been affected by a teacher or an adult. For years, I have watched people teach. I have looked at the best and I've looked at some of the worst. A colleague said to me one time, they don't pay me to like the kids. They pay me to teach a lesson. The kids should learn it. I should teach it. They should learn it. Case closed. Well, I said to her, you know, kids don't learn from people they don't like. She said, that's just a bunch of hooey. And I said to her, well, your year is going to be long and arduous, dear. Needless to say, it was. Some people think that you can either have it in you to build a relationship or you don't. I think Stephen Covey had the right idea. He said you ought to just throw in a few simple things, like seeking first to understand as opposed to being understood. Simple things like apologizing. You ever thought about that? Tell a kid you're sorry, they're in shock. I taught a lesson once on ratios. I'm not real good with math, but I was working on it. And I got back and looked at that teacher edition. I taught the whole lesson wrong. So I came back to class the next day and I said, look, guys, I need to apologize. I taught the whole lesson wrong. I'm so sorry. They said, that's okay, Miss Pearson. You were so excited. We just let you go. I have had classes that were so low, so academically deficient that I cried. I wondered, how am I going to take this group in 9 months from where they are to where they need to be? And it was difficult. It was awfully hard. How do I raise the self-esteem of a child and his academic achievement at the same time? One year I came up with a bright idea. I told all my students, you were chosen to be in my class because I am the best teacher and you are the best students. They put us all together so we could show everybody else how to do it. One of the students said, really? I said, really? We have to show the other classes how to do it. So when we walk down the hall, people will notice us. So you can't make noise. You just have to strut. And I gave him a saying to say, I am somebody. I was somebody when I came. I'll be a better somebody when I leave. I am powerful and I am strong. I deserve the education that I get here. I have things to do, people to impress, and places to go. And they said, yeah. You say it long enough, it starts to be a part of you. And so I gave a quiz, 20 questions. Student missed 18. I put a +2 on his paper and a big smiley face. He said, Miss Pearson, is this an F? I said, yes. He said, then why'd you put a smiley face? I said, because you on the roll. You got 2 right, you didn't miss them all. I said, and when we review this, won't you do better? He said, yes, ma'am, I can do better. You see, -18 sucks all the life out of you. +2 said, I ain't all bad. 4 years, I watched my mother take the time at recess to review, go on home visits in the afternoon, buy combs and brushes and peanut butter and crackers to put in her desk drawer for kids that needed to eat, and a washcloth and some soap for the kids who didn't smell so good. See, it's hard to teach kids who stink. And kids can be cruel. And so she kept those things in her desk, and years later, after she retired, I watched some of those same kids come through and say to her, you know, Miss Walker, you made a difference in my life. You made it work for me. You made me feel like I was somebody when I knew at the bottom I wasn't. And I want you to just see what I've become. And when my mama died 2 years ago at 92, there were so many former students at her funeral. It brought tears to my eyes, not because she was gone, but because she left a legacy of relationships that could never disappear. Can we stand to have more relationships? Absolutely. Will you like all your children? Of course not. And you know your toughest kids are never absent. Never. You won't like them all, and the tough ones show up for a reason. It's the connection, it's the relationships. And while you won't like them all, the key is they can never, ever know it. So teachers become great actors and great actresses, and we come to work when we don't feel like it, and we listen to policy that doesn't make sense, and we teach anyway. We teach anyway because that's what we do. Teaching and learning should bring joy. How powerful would our world be if we had kids who were not afraid to take risks, who were not afraid to think, and who had a champion? Every child deserves a champion, an adult who will never give up on them, who understands the power of connection and insists that they become the best that they can possibly be. Is this job tough? You betcha. Oh God, you betcha. But it is not impossible. We can do this. We're educators. We're born to make a difference. Thank you so much.
So, how to do it? You can take a piece of paper and open your note on your phone and list out everything that you know about the topic and you choose for the speech. And keep the note with you. Fill it whenever you remember something more. There are different sources of materials for you to find information. They could be in the library near your house, in the bookstore down the street, or most commonly on the internet. What's important is that you need to find a good source of information. How can we find that? Let me introduce the Carrot test. So, these questions will help you to find out whether the information you found is good or not and can be used for your speech or not. Let's start with the first C. So it is currency or tính cập nhật. So you can ask yourself these 4 questions. When was it public? When was it last updated? Are all the sources appropriate to your topic? Are the links functioning? Vậy thì cái nguồn của chúng ta được xuất bản khi nào, nó được cập nhật lần cuối từ khi nào, các cái nguồn cũ hơn thì có phù hợp với cái chủ đề của mình hay không, và những cái đường link này thì còn hoạt động hay không. The next one is the R, relevance. So the question you can ask yourself is, does it relate to your topic? Who is intended audience? Is it's written at your reading levels, and have you consider other sources before deciding on this one? Vậy thì cái mục thứ hai đó là cái tính liên quan. Vậy thì cái nguồn này nó có liên quan đến chủ đề của bạn không? Cái đối tượng chúng ta dự định nhắm tới là ai? Và nó có được viết ở cái cấp độ đọc của mình hay không? Và chúng ta đã xem các cái nguồn khác trước khi quyết định để chọn cái nguồn này hay không? The next one is authority. So you can ask yourself these 4 questions. The first, who is the author? Who is the publishers? Ai là người tác giả, đúng không ạ? Và ai là cái nhà xuất bản cho nó? Did anyone sponsor for these publications? Có ai tài trợ cho cái nghiên cứu này không? Có cho cái bản xuất bản này không? What makes the author qualify for the topic? Điều gì khiến cho cái tác giả của nó đạt được đủ cái yêu cầu cho cái chủ đề này. Và cuối cùng là cái đường link cho chúng ta biết điều gì. Ví dụ .gov thì đó là các cái đường link của chính phủ, đúng không ạ? .edu thì chắc chắn là các cái đường link của các cái tổ chức về học thuật. Next, we need to consider the accuracy, tính chính xác. So the questions could be, where is the information coming from? Is it supported by evidence? Had it been reviewed by others in the field, etc. Vậy thì những câu hỏi này nó là thông tin đến từ đâu, nó có thể được hỗ trợ bởi các cái bằng chứng khác không, hoặc là những cái nguồn này đã được xem xét hoặc đã được nhận xét bởi những cái người khác trong cái lĩnh vực này hay chưa. The next P is for purpose. So you can consider these questions. Is it intended to teach, to sell, to entertain, to inform, or to persuade? Are the author's intentions clear? Is the point of view objective and impartial? Are there underlying biases like political, cultural, ideological, religious, institutional, etc.? Vậy thì chúng ta sẽ phải suy nghĩ về cái mục đích ạ. Mục đích của những cái nguồn này nó có phục vụ cho những cái mục tiêu như là giảng dạy, cho giải trí, để thông báo hay để thuyết phục ai đó không? Cái ý định của tác giả trong những cái bài viết này có rõ ràng không? Cái quan điểm có khách quan và vô tư không? Và có những cái thành kiến tiềm ẩn về mặt chính trị, văn hóa, tư tưởng, tôn giáo hay không? So, the first exercise for you. Imagine you have to talk about the topic is becoming a vegetarian good. You come across these two articles. Use the Carab test to judge whether they are reliable or not, and they can be used or not. So, after you've done the Carab test, you can come up with something like these. And in conclusion, Grazia's article is unreliable because it's unclear sources of information, informal language, and uncertain viewpoint. So we cannot use that. But the green piece is quite biased. You can get more information about your topic by interviewing other people. To make sure that you get the best result from the interviews, can you please do as follows? So the first one, before the interview, you can define the purpose of the interview, decide whom to interview, arrange the interview, and prepare your questions. So trước cái bài phỏng vấn thì chúng ta cần phải làm 4 bước. Thứ nhất là chúng ta sẽ phải xác định được mục tiêu của bài phỏng vấn. Thứ hai là mình sẽ quyết định xem là chúng ta sẽ phỏng vấn ai. Tiếp nữa là chúng ta sẽ phải đặt một cái lịch, đúng không ạ? Sắp xếp cái buổi phỏng vấn đấy như thế nào. Và cuối cùng là sẽ chuẩn bị những cái câu hỏi phỏng vấn. During the interviews, you should dress appropriately and be on time. Repeat the purpose of the interview. Set up the recorder or get ready to take note. Keep the interview on track. Listen and take note carefully. Vậy thì trong suốt cái buổi phỏng vấn thì chúng ta sẽ phải ăn mặc một cách lịch sự và đến đúng giờ, đúng không ạ? Và sẽ đưa ra, trước khi mà chúng ta bắt đầu bài phỏng vấn thì mình sẽ phải đưa ra cái mục tiêu của cái bài phỏng vấn này là gì, để người nghe và người tham gia phỏng vấn của chúng ta sẽ có thể nắm được. Và mình sẽ phải record lại, hoặc là bằng âm thanh hoặc là bằng cách take note ạ. After interview, you should review your notes as soon as possible and transcribe your notes. When you finish, the interview is fresh in your mind. You know that the comments and notes in your notes mean. But as time passes, the details will become hazy. Don't let something like this true story happen to you. Vậy thì khi mà chúng ta vừa mới kết thúc cái bài phỏng vấn thì tất cả những cái câu trả lời phỏng vấn nó vẫn còn rất là rõ ràng trong đầu mình, và chúng ta biết được là những cái nốt đó là về cái chúng ta đang viết về cái chủ đề gì, đúng không ạ? Hoặc là chúng ta viết những cái nốt này có ý nghĩa gì. Tuy nhiên nếu mà chúng ta để nó quá là lâu, đúng không ạ? As time passes thì mọi thứ nó có thể là mờ nhạt đi. Và ở đây tôi có một cái ví dụ cho các bạn như thế này ạ. So years ago, a prominent women writer and a diplomat was being interviewed by a young reporter. Among other things, the reporters asked about the hobbies and leisure activities. The woman replied that she enjoyed skateboarding and raised Siamese cats. Okay, can you please remember, bear these two in mind? The reporter script her notes and write down shoot and cat, but didn't bother to put a comma or dash between the words. The interview was published, and ever since, that prominent woman has been trying to live down the reputation that she shoots cat. Vậy thì câu chuyện đó như sau ạ. Nhiều năm trước thì có một người phụ nữ rất là nổi tiếng, đó là một nhà văn, một nhà ngoại giao, được phỏng vấn bởi một phóng viên trẻ. Và trong tất cả những cái câu hỏi thì phóng viên có hỏi và một câu về các cái sở thích hay là hoạt động vui chơi giải trí. Và người phụ nữ trả lời rằng là cô thích bắn bồ câu ạ, skateboarding và nuôi mèo ạ. Và phóng viên đã viết trong ghi chú của mình là bắn vào mèo nhưng mà không bận tâm đến việc đặt dấu phẩy hay dấu gạch ngang giữa các từ. Và cuộc phỏng vấn đã được công bố. Kể từ đó thì người phụ nữ này đã phải cố gắng sống với cái danh tiếng rằng là cô ấy đã bắn mèo, shoot cats. Next, we will need to know how to support our ideas. So I have the 4 E's here. So the first one is explanations. You should giải thích, đúng không? Mình có thể đưa ra những cái giải thích vào trong cái bài nói của mình. Next, we can add example, ví dụ. Or we can use evidence, bằng chứng. And the last one, expert's voice, ý kiến của chuyên gia. So the first one, explanation. Most of the time, we should start with a general sentence to state our ideas. Then we need to explain in more details what we mean. Okay. For example, the way to maximize the freedom is to maximize the choice. And the more choice people have, the more freedom they have. Next, explanation. So can you please watch the speech? Keep your goals to yourself. And find a part of explanation in this speech.
Everyone, please think of your biggest personal goal. Okay, for real. You take a second, you got to feel this to learn it. Take a few seconds and think of your personal biggest goal. Okay? Imagine deciding right now that you're going to do it. Imagine telling someone that you meet today what you're going to do. Imagine their congratulations and their high image of you. Doesn't it feel good to say it out loud? Don't you feel one step closer already, like it's already becoming part of your identity? Well, bad news. You should have kept your mouth shut, because that good feeling now will make you less likely to do it. The repeated psychology tests have proven that telling someone your goal makes it less likely to happen. Anytime you have a goal, there are some steps that need to be done, some work that needs to be done in order to achieve it. Ideally, you would not be satisfied until you'd actually done the work. But when you tell someone your goal and they acknowledge it, psychologists have found that it's called a social reality. The mind is kind of tricked into feeling that it's already done. And then because you've felt that satisfaction, you're less motivated to do the actual hard work necessary. So this goes against the conventional wisdom that we should tell our friends our goals, right? So they hold us to it, yeah. So let's look at the proof. 1926, Kurt Lewin, founder of social psychology, called this substitution. 1933, Vera Mahler found when it was acknowledged by others, it felt real in the mind. 1982, Peter Gawlitzer wrote a whole book about this, and in 2009, he did some new tests that were published. It goes like this. 163 people across 4 separate tests. Everyone wrote down their personal goal. Then half of them announced their commitment to this goal to the room, and half didn't. And then everyone was given 45 minutes of work that would directly lead them towards their goal, but they were told that they could stop at any time. Now, those who kept their mouth shut worked the entire 45 minutes on average, and when asked afterwards, said that they felt that they had a long way to go still to achieve their goal. But those who had announced it quit after only 33 minutes on average, and when asked afterwards, said that they felt much closer to achieving their goal. So, if this is true, what can we do? Well, you could resist the temptation to announce your goal. You can delay the gratification that the social acknowledgement brings, and you can understand that your mind mistakes the talking for the doing. But if you do need to talk about something, you can state it in a way that gives you no satisfaction. Such as, I really want to run this marathon, so I need to train 5 times a week and kick my ass if I don't, okay? So audience, next time you're tempted to tell someone your goal, what will you say? Exactly, well done.
Exercise 2. Which of the following is the explanation in the speech? Keep your goals to yourself. You may choose more than one answer. So I have a checklist for explanation for you. You can use the checklist when prepare your speech. Number 1. Do my explanation develop my ideas? Next, are my explanations simple? And the last questions, do my explanations help people understand my idea better? So next, we can add example into our speech. So example is a specific case representing a group of people, ideas, conditions, experience, and so on. So you can add a short example, you can add a story, or even you can add a hypothesis.
I'm going to talk to you about some stuff that's in this book of mine that I hope will resonate with other things that you've already heard, and I'll try to make some connections myself in case you missed them. But I want to start with what I call the official dogma. The official dogma of what? The official dogma of all Western industrial societies. And the official dogma runs like this. If we are interested in maximizing the welfare of our citizens, the way to do that is to maximize individual freedom. The reason for this is both that freedom is in and of itself good, valuable, worthwhile, essential to being human, and because if people have freedom, then each of us can act on our own to do the things that will maximize our welfare, and no one has to decide on our behalf. The way to maximize freedom is to maximize choice. The more choice people have, the more freedom they have, and the more freedom they have, the more welfare they have. This, I think, is so deeply embedded in the water supply that it wouldn't occur to anyone to question it. And it's also deeply embedded in our lives. I'll give you some examples of what modern progress has made possible for us. This is my supermarket, not such a big one. I want to say just a word about salad dressing. 175 salad dressings in my supermarket. If you don't count the 10 extra virgin olive oils and 12 balsamic vinegars you could buy to make a very large number of your own salad dressings in the off chance that none of the 175 the store has on offer suits you. So this is what the supermarket is like. And then you go to the consumer electronics store to set up a stereo system, speakers, CD player, tape player, tuner, amplifier, and in this one single consumer electronics store, there are that many stereo systems. We can construct 6.5 million different stereo systems out of the components that are on offer in one store. You got to admit that's a lot of choice. In other domains, the world of communications, there was a time when I was a boy when you could get any kind of telephone service you wanted as long as it came from Ma Bell. You rented your phone, you didn't buy it. One consequence of that, by the way, is that the phone never broke. And those days are gone. We now have an almost unlimited variety of phones, especially in the world of cell phones. These are cell phones of the future. My favorite is the middle one, MP3 player, nose hair trimmer, and creme brulee torch. And if by some chance you haven't seen that in your store yet, you can rest assured that one day soon you will. And what this does is it leads people to walk into their stores asking this question. And do you know what the answer to this question now is? The answer is no. It is not possible to buy a cell phone that doesn't do too much. So, in other aspects of life that are much more significant than buying things, the same explosion of choice is true. Healthcare. It is no longer the case in the United States that you go to the doctor and the doctor tells you what to do. Instead, you go to the doctor and the doctor tells you, well, we could do A or we could do B. A has these benefits and these risks. B has these benefits and these risks. What do you want to do? And you say, Doc, what should I do? And the doc says, A has these benefits and risks, and B has these benefits and risks. What do you want to do? And you say, if you were me, Doc, what would you do? And the doc says, but I'm not you. And the result is, we call it patient autonomy, which makes it sound like a good thing, but what it really is a shifting of the burden and the responsibility for decision-making from somebody who knows something, namely the doctor, to somebody who knows nothing and is almost certainly sick and thus not in the best shape to be making decisions, namely the patient. There's enormous marketing of prescription drugs to people like you and me, which, if you think about it, makes no sense at all since we can't buy them. Why do they market to us if we can't buy them? The answer is that they expect us to call our doctors the next morning and ask for our prescriptions to be changed. Something as dramatic as our identity is now become a matter of choice, as this slide is meant to indicate. We don't inherit an identity, we get to invent it, and we get to reinvent ourselves as often as we like. And that means that every day when you wake up in the morning, you have to decide what kind of person you want to be. With respect to marriage and family, there was a time when the default assumption that almost everyone had is that you got married as soon as you could, and then you started having kids as soon as you could. The only real choice was who, not when, and not what you did after. Nowadays, everything is very much up for grabs. I teach wonderfully intelligent students, and I assign 20% less work than I used to, and it's not because they're less smart, and it's not because they're less diligent, it's because they are preoccupied, asking themselves, should I get married or not? Should I get married now? Should I get married later? Should I have kids first or a career first? All of these are consuming questions, and they're going to answer these questions whether or not it means not doing all the work I assign and not getting a good grade in my courses. And indeed they should. These are important questions to answer. Work. We are blessed, as Carl was pointing out, with the technology that enables us to work every minute of every day from any place on the planet, except the Randolph Hotel. There is one corner, by the way, that I'm not going to tell anybody about where the Wi-Fi works. I'm not telling you about it because I want to use it. So what this means, this incredible freedom of choice we have with respect to work, is that we have to make a decision again and again and again about whether we should or shouldn't be working. We can go to watch our kid play soccer, and we have our cell phone on one hip, and our BlackBerry on our other hip, and our laptop presumably on our laps. And even if they're all shut off, every minute that we're watching our kid mutilate a soccer game, we are also asking ourselves, should I answer this cell phone call? Should I respond to this email? Should I draft this letter? And even if the answer to the question is no, it's certainly going to make the experience of your kid's soccer game very different than it would have been. So everywhere we look, big things and small things, material things and lifestyle things, life is a matter of choice. And the world we used to live in looked like this. That is to say, there were some choices, but not everything was a matter of choice. And the world we now live in looks like this. And the question is this good news or bad news? And the answer is yes. We all know what's good about it, so I'm going to talk about what's bad about it. All of this choice has two effects, two negative effects on people. One effect, paradoxically, is that it produces paralysis rather than liberation. With so many options to choose from, people find it very difficult to choose at all. I'll give you one very dramatic example of this, a study that was done of investments in voluntary retirement plans. A colleague of mine got access to investment records from Vanguard, the gigantic mutual fund company of about 1 million employees in about 2,000 different workplaces. And what she found is that for every 10 mutual funds the employer offered, rate of participation went down 2%. You offer 50 funds, 10% fewer employees participate than if you only offer 5. Why? Because with 50 funds to choose from, it's so damn hard to decide which fund to choose that you'll just put it off till tomorrow, and then tomorrow, and then tomorrow, and tomorrow, and tomorrow, and of course tomorrow never comes. Understand that not only does this mean that people are going to have to eat dog food when they retire because they don't have enough money put away, it also means that making the decision is so hard that they pass up significant matching money from the employer. By not participating, they are passing up as much as $5,000 a year from the employer, who would happily match their contribution. So paralysis is a consequence of having too many choices, and I think it makes the world look like this. You really want to get the decision right if it's for all eternity, right? You don't want to pick the wrong mutual fund or even the wrong salad dressing. So that's one effect. The second effect is that even if we manage to overcome the paralysis and make a choice, we end up less satisfied with the result of the choice than we would be if we had fewer options to choose from. And there are several reasons for this. One of them is that with a lot of different salad dressings to choose from, if you buy one and it's not perfect, and you know what salad dressing is, it's easy to imagine that you could have made a different choice that would have been better. And what happens is this imagined alternative induces you to regret the decision you made, and this regret subtracts from the satisfaction you get out of the decision you made, even if it was a good decision. The more options there are, the easier it is to regret anything at all that is disappointing about the option that you chose. Second, what economists call opportunity costs. Dan Gilbert made a big point this morning of talking about how much the way in which we value things depends on what we compare them to. Well, when there are lots of alternatives to consider, it is easy to imagine the attractive features of alternatives that you reject that make you less satisfied with the alternative that you've chosen. Here's an example. For those of you who aren't New Yorkers, I apologize. But here's what you're supposed to be thinking. Here's this couple on the Hamptons. Very expensive real estate, gorgeous beach, beautiful day. They have it all to themselves. What could be better? Well, damn it, this guy is thinking, it's August. Everybody in my Manhattan neighborhood is away. I could be parking right in front of my building. And he spends 2 weeks nagged by the idea that he is missing the opportunity day after day to have a great parking space. Opportunity costs subtract from the satisfaction we get out of what we choose, even when what we choose is terrific. And the more options there are to consider, the more attractive features of these options are going to be reflected by us as opportunity costs. Here's another example. Now this cartoon makes a lot of points. It makes points about living in the moment as well, and probably about doing things slowly. But one point it makes is that whenever you're choosing one thing, you're choosing not to do other things, and those other things may have lots of attractive features, and it's going to make what you're doing less attractive. Third, escalation of expectations. This hit me when I went to replace my jeans. I wear jeans almost all the time, and there was a time when jeans came in one flavor, and you bought them, and they fit like crap, and they were incredibly uncomfortable, and if you wore them long enough and washed them enough times, they started to feel okay. So I went to replace my jeans after years and years of wearing these old ones, and I said, I want a pair of jeans, here's my size, and the shopkeeper said, do you want slim fit, easy fit, relaxed fit? You want button fly or zipper fly? You want stone washed or acid washed? Do you want them distressed? Do you want boot cut? Do you want tapered? Blah, 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 on and on. He went. My jaw dropped, and after I recovered, I said, I want the kind that used to be the only kind. He had no idea what that was. So I spent an hour trying on all these damn jeans, and I walked out of the store, truth, with the best fitting jeans I had ever had. I did better. All this choice made it possible for me to do better. But I felt worse. Why? I wrote a whole book to try to explain this to myself. The reason is... The reason I felt worse is that with all of these options available, my expectations about how good a pair of jeans should be went up. I had I had no particular expectations when they only came in one flavor. When they came in 100 flavors, damn it, one of them should have been perfect. And what I got was good, but it wasn't perfect. And so I compared what I got to what I expected, and what I got was disappointing in comparison to what I expected. Adding options to people's lives can't help but increase the expectations people have about how good those options will be. And what that's going to produce is less satisfaction with results, even when they're good results. Nobody in the world of marketing knows this. Because if they did, you wouldn't all know what this was about. The truth is more like this. The reason that everything was better back when everything was worse is that when everything was worse, it was actually possible for people to have experiences that were a pleasant surprise. Nowadays, the world we live in, we affluent, industrialized citizens, with perfection, the expectation, the best you can ever hope for is that stuff is as good as you expect it to be. You will never be pleasantly surprised because your expectations, my expectations, have gone through the roof. The secret to happiness, this is what you all came for. The secret to happiness is low expectations. I want to say, just a little autobiographical moment, that I actually am married to a wife, and she's really quite wonderful. I couldn't have done better. I didn't settle. But settling isn't always such a bad thing. Finally, one consequence of buying a bad-fitting pair of jeans when there is only one kind to buy is that when you are dissatisfied and you ask why, who's responsible? The answer is clear. The world is responsible. What could you do? When there are hundreds of different styles of jeans available, and you buy one that is disappointing, and you ask why, who's responsible, it is equally clear that the answer to the question is you. You could have done better. With 100 different kinds of jeans on display, there is no excuse for failure. And so when people make decisions, and even though the results of the decisions are good, they feel disappointed about them, they blame themselves. Clinical depression has exploded in the industrial world in the last generation. I believe a significant, not the only, but a significant contributor to this explosion of depression and also suicide is that people have experiences that are disappointing because their standards are so high, and then when they have to explain these experiences to themselves, they think they're at fault. And so the net result is that we do better in general, objectively, and we feel worse. So, let me remind you, this is the official dogma, the one that we all take to be true, and it's all false. It is not true. There's no question that some choice is better than none, but it doesn't follow from that that more choice is better than some choice. There's some magical amount, I don't know what it is. I'm pretty confident that we have long since passed the point where options improve our welfare. Now, as a policy matter, I'm almost done. As a policy matter, the thing to think about is this. What enables all of this choice in industrial societies is material affluence. There are lots of places in the world, and we have heard about several of them, where their problem is not that they have too much choice, their problem is that they have too little. So the stuff I'm talking about is the peculiar problem of modern, affluent Western societies. And what is so frustrating and infuriating is this. Steve Levitt talked to you yesterday about how these expensive and difficult to install child seats don't help. It's a waste of money. What I'm telling you is that these expensive, complicated choices, it's not simply that they don't help. They actually hurt. They actually make us worse off. If some of what enables people in our societies to make all of the choices we make were shifted to societies in which people have too few options, not only would those people's lives be improved, but ours would be improved also. This is what economists call a Pareto improving move. Income redistribution will make everyone better off, not just poor people, because of how all this excess choice plagues us. So, to conclude, you're supposed to read this cartoon and, being a sophisticated person, say, what does this fish know? You know, nothing is possible in this fishbowl. Impoverished imagination, a myopic view of the world, and that's the way I read it at first. The more I thought about it, however, the more I came to the view that this fish knows something. Because the truth of the matter is that if you shatter the fishbowl so that everything is possible, you don't have freedom, you have paralysis. If you shatter this fishbowl so that everything is possible, you decrease satisfaction. You increase paralysis and you decrease satisfaction. Everybody needs a fishbowl. This one is almost certainly too limited, perhaps even for the fish, certainly for us. But the absence of some metaphorical fishbowl is a recipe for misery and, I suspect, disaster. Thank you very much.
What if great ideas weren't cherished? What if they carried no importance or held no value? There is a place where artistic vision is protected, where inspired design ideas live on to become ultimate driving machines.
Exercise 3. Which of the following Here are some questions you want to notice when you use examples to support your points. Let's use the checklist when you prepare for your speech. So the first one, do my examples clarify my ideas? Next, do my example make my ideas stronger? Next one, are my examples representative of this group? Next, are my story vivid and attractive? And last, have I practiced delivering my examples to give them dramatic effects? Is the example in the speech. Keep your goals to yourself. You may choose more than one answer. Next one, you can add evidence to make your speech more vivid. So evidence is a study, a report, a survey that gives us that statistic, like number. So for example, to show the role of the community college in the US education system, according to the Chronicle of Higher Education, 45% of all graduates or undergraduates in the Americas study at a community college. So to illustrate the growing popularity of organic food, you can say something like, according to MSNBC News, sales in organic crops now exceed $20 billion a year and are increasing 23% annually. So this is the checklist to give your evidence. So the first one, does the evidence support my points? Next, is the evidence from reliable source? Next one, do I cite the sources of the evidence. Next, do I use visual aids to show the statistic? And last, do I explain my evidence and statistic and relate them to the audience? In most speeches, you will probably rely on expert voice, words from people who are experts in their field. The view of people who are experts is a good way to lend credibility to your speeches. It shows that you are not just mouthing your own opinion, but that your position is supported by people who are knowledgeable about the topic. Expert voice is even more important when a topic is controversial or when the audience is doubtful about the speaker's point of view. The following story explains how one student used expert voice for a speech on a household antibacterial product. Vậy thì trong hầu hết các bài phát biểu thì bạn có thể dựa vào những cái lời nói của chuyên gia để bảo vệ cho cái ý kiến, cái argument của mình, đúng không ạ? Và quan điểm của những cái người được cho là chuyên gia sẽ là một cách tốt nhất để mình tạo uy tín cho cái bài phát biểu của chính mình. Và nó cho thấy rằng là chúng ta không chỉ nói ra những cái ý kiến của riêng bản thân, mà chúng ta được hỗ trợ bởi những cái người mà có những cái tầm hiểu biết rất là lớn về cái chủ đề này. Và tiếng nói của chuyên gia thậm chí còn quan trọng hơn khi một chủ đề gây tranh cãi, hoặc là khi có một cái khán giả nào đó nghi ngờ về cái quan điểm của người nói. Vậy thì ở đây có một cái câu chuyện có thể giải thích một cách sống động cái việc mà sinh viên sử dụng ý kiến của chuyên gia để bảo vệ cho cái sản phẩm kháng khuẩn gia dụng của mình. So we have the checklist for using the expert's voice. First, does the expert's voice support my point? Does the expert voice come from a reliable source? Next, are the expert's voice biased? Next one, do I cite the sources where the expert said? And last, do I quote and paraphrase with complete accuracy? Okay, so to sum up, we have come across the three sections. The first one is how to identify sources of the research material. Next, we know how to use criteria to evaluate information sources. And last, we identified the explanations, the example, the evidence, and expert voice to support the point. And this is the end of Unit 3. Thank you and see you in Unit 4.